Tonight on Ukraine Today, hell on earth for the invaders. Ukrainian border guards crushed enemy assault groups. Oh, we have got the footage to show you. It's Ukraine's decision. A former US Army commander says Ukraine has every right to ignore any deals between Washington and Moscow. Ukraine and NATO. What did NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte say at the press conference with President Zelensky? Let Joe speak. The 46th US president just gave his thoughts on his successor's economic policy. And are we moving forward or just stuck in place? Why does President Zelensky call the US-Ukraine talks on natural resources positive? All that and more, right here on Ukraine Today. Hi there, we are from Ukraine. My name is Volodymyr Rabchun. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. Hell on earth for the invaders. Ukrainian border guards destroyed enemy assault groups, vehicles, and communication equipment near the Sumy region. The Russians tried to break through, but that plan didn't go well. Here's some frontline footage that shows exactly what's going on and how big a role drones play in this war. Let's call it drone diplomacy, shall we? Because traditional diplomacy, the Kremlin has been ghosting that for years. But when it comes to drones, it's kinda hard to ignore the message. What do you think? Maybe it's time the drones flew all the way to the Kremlin itself? Let us know in the comments below. Meanwhile, Russian mass disinformation media say drones hit the base of the 112th Guards Missile Brigade in Ivanovo region, Russia. The brigade is armed with Iskander missiles, and it might have launched the attack on Sumy this Palm Sunday. Even if that's not the case, the base is still a legit military target. No questions there. Oh, and one more thing. There was hellfire in Kursk too, the most massive drone strike so far. A giant armor depot went up in flames. We'll show you the footage in just a minute. Chinese prisoners of war started talking on camera. They are saying Russian forces are using chemical weapons on the battlefield. Yeah, the kind that's banned by pretty much every international convention. And of course, rumors are swirling again. They say the war could be over by May 9th. We've got a full story on that, right here.
A real air defense incident of the Russian armed forces. This is how Ukrainian defenders described the maneuvers of an FPV drone that dodged missiles and hit a Russian anti-aircraft missile system directly. After an unsuccessful interception, the enemy tried to retreat but didn't manage to. The FPV drone strike hit the target precisely, causing serious damage to the anti-aircraft system. In these frames, an enemy tank tried to break through the positions of the 141st Mechanized Brigade, but it ended fatally for it. The first strike was a javelin to the turret. Then the heavy bomber, Vampire, took over. The occupiers do not cease their attempts to assault, but each time they receive a worthy and crushing response, our fighters right. The Russians are uneasy in the Kursk direction in the air.
In the last 24 hours, according to reports from the Ministry of Defense of the occupying country, 109 Ukrainian UAVs were shot down over the territory of the Russian Federation. It is worth noting the scale of the strikes from the Ukrainian side. The main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine strikes exclusively military targets on the territory of the occupying country. These are field depots of ammunition, command and control points, and accordingly places of permanent and temporary deployment of personnel.
Heavy fighting is also taking place on the ground. The occupiers, as usual, spare neither equipment nor personnel.
Heavy fighting is taking place in the area of the settlements of Oleshnya and Guevo. It should be noted that in the Guevo area, the occupiers have certain tactical successes. However, the Ukrainian Defense Forces currently maintain a control zone in the Kursk region, estimated at around 100 square kilometers. This is despite all the efforts of the Russian side.
Fighting is ongoing in the Belgorod region, where the occupiers have been forced to bring in reinforcements.
According to reports from the Belgorod region, heavy fighting is occurring in the areas of the settlements of Demidovka, Rafovka and Popovka. The Ukrainian defense forces are successfully conducting active defense operations. According to reports from the Russian side itself, operational reserves are being transferred from the Kursk direction to the Belgorod direction to the armed forces of the Russian Federation.
Having failed to capture Kyiv in 3 days or Donbass in 3 years, the Russians are using both legal and illegal methods of warfare. This was confirmed by Chinese prisoners of war, who stated that Russia is using chemical weapons in the war with Ukraine. The Chinese explained their presence in the war in a foreign country as a deception by the Russian Federation. They claim that they did not want to fight as part of the Russian army line, but they were deceived and sent to the front.
It concerns the fact that the special services of the Russian Federation have launched an active information campaign to recruit so-called volunteers from among the citizens of the People's Republic of China, both on social networks within that country and accordingly are trying to recruit among representatives of the Chinese diaspora directly within the territory of the Russian Federation.
Got involved.
Meanwhile, as the war with the involvement of an international contingent is in full swing, US President Donald Trump allegedly once again threatens to end it. This time within 100 days. This date falls on the 9th of May this year.
At the moment, the discussion is about how the nature of economic pressure can actually influence the Russian Federation's decision to cease the active phase of hostilities in Ukraine.
How truthful the information about Trump's 100-day plan is remains unclear. On Bankova Street, it was called another piece of disinformation, and it's not hard to guess who benefits from such an information campaign.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Ukraine is fighting for freedom. Support independent Ukrainian journalism so we can continue bringing you the truth about this war. Click the link in the description below and become our sponsor. Together to victory. It's up to Ukraine. According to retired US Army General Ben Hodges, Ukraine has every right to ignore any deals made between the US and Russia. He believes Russia only respects force. On Ukraine 24, Hodges said Ukraine is now in better position on the battlefield, fighting back harder and smarter, despite Russia's intensified attacks on civilians. In his view, Russia will only stop once it fully realizes it cannot win this war.
I think that Russians will only respect force, nothing else. For the sake of peace, nothing can be done in Ukraine, or should be done in Ukraine, that could satisfy the Russians. Ukraine cannot do anything else. Ukraine is an independent state. If the United States and Russia make some kind of deal about Ukraine, about Europe, somehow agree on something between them, Ukraine has no obligation to accept these conditions.
Now, does Mr. Hodges have any influence on the current US administration? If yes, interesting times ahead. If no, well, maybe that's why he speaks so boldly. It's easy to say what you want when you're not part of the official process, or when you're Donald Trump. Here's an example of an official statement from a top-level representative. NATO stands with Ukraine. That's what NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte said during a joint press conference with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Odessa. Rutte arrived in Ukraine on an official visit. Among the key topics he discussed with Ukrainian leadership were air defense systems and Euro-Atlantic security.
I am here with you today, dear friends, to deliver a message to you. NATO stands with Ukraine. You and I know that has been true and continues to be true, and I know that there have been questions about NATO's support over the last few months, but let me say that our support is unquestionable. NATO continues to provide politically different types of assistance to Ukraine.
You know what's surprising? We have made it this far into the show and still no Trump quote. And honestly, let's keep it that way. Instead, let's hear from someone watching the new administration from a safe distance. I'm talking about the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden. He just shared his thoughts on his successor's economic policy.
Fewer than 100 days
this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration, pushing an additional 7,000 employees, 7,000 out the door in that time, including the most seasoned career officials. Now they're getting ready to push thousands more out the door.
Not my words, Joe's words. He's American, he would know. And just to wrap things up on a positive note, let me quote the President of Ukraine. He shared his thoughts on Ukraine's talks with the US regarding natural resources. To me, the very fact that these talks are happening, that's already a good sign. Not just about resources, but about Ukraine-US relations in general. But okay, that's me going a bit off topic. So, back to the point. According to the President, the talks on natural resources were positive.
The negotiations were held, they were positive. This was a technical meeting of the technical team, and meetings at this level in different formats. Not only offline meetings, but also online contacts will continue throughout this week until the end. After all these consultations, when the teams are ready, I think they will be ready. They will show what they have worked out. So far, both sides have finished the meeting in a positive way. I think it's the right thing to do.
The main thing, read every condition carefully. We don't want a Budapest Memorandum 2.0. Maybe that's exactly why the Ukrainian delegation is made up of lawyers. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We read your comments and feel your support. Strength to our defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Like, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.